I've had this book for a while, but I'm only now really delving into it because of this TikTok project. But before I actually talk about the content, I think I have to talk about the author to give it some context. For those interested, I bought this in UP Press a few years back. I think they probably still have copies. So Isabelo de los Reyes, also known as Don Belong, is considered by a lot of people, well, according to this book, as the father of Philippine folklore studies. However, his work wasn't really accessible to Filipinos because he wrote it all in Spanish. And this is a translation of his most important work into English. He did this because he wanted to prove to the Spanish that we actually had a pre-Hispanic Philippine civilization, and it focused more on Ilocos, Zambales, and Malabon because he was an Ilocano. So Isabelo de los Reyes was born in 1864 to one of the richest families in Ilocos Sur. So he was intelligent but also kind of rebellious and mischievous. His son recounts that he would oftentimes answer the exams of weaker students in the class to help them pass the course. He became a writer, but he also studied to be a lawyer, but he was actually too young to become a notary public, and that's why he ended up more of a writer. So as a writer, he wrote El Folklore Filipino, this book, in which he won the silver medal at the 1887 Madrid Exposition. He wanted to join the Philippine Revolution, but his father was able to refrain him from doing so. But still, he was accused as being one of the instigators of the movement, and he was arrested and exiled to Barcelona. There, he tried to write to the King and Queen of Spain to call out the injustices of the friars, but it didn't really do anything, and when his wife died, he wasn't even allowed to attend her funeral. When he was released, he eventually became the Secretary of State of the revolutionary government. So he did a lot of things for workers, and eventually it got him back into prison in Malabon for helping in a tobacco workers' strike. And he actually refused a offer of pardon, saying that he was fully aware of what he was doing. Then apparently, he became one of the founders of the Aglipayan Church and was an honorary bishop. He was elected councilor in 1912 of Manila and served as a senator from 1922 to 1928 and died in 1938. Jose Rizal himself appreciated a lot of his work, and Don Belong agreed with Rizal also that his greatest shortcoming was some of his works tended to be superficial and uncritical. Another Ilocano Anito is the Katatauan or the Sangkabagi, and I really hope I'm pronouncing that correctly. So the author, Isabelo de los Reyes, grouped the two spirits together because his theory is that you call them depending on where you are in Ilocos. So in Ilocos Norte, there are no katatauan, but instead they use the name Sangkabagi. So these spirits are pretty cool because they sometimes appear as human beings or giants, but what's cool about them is that they have flying boats. So they use a flying barangay, and they go to secluded places like pirates looking for cadavers. And it's the reason why Ilocanos watch over their dead before burying them, because they're afraid the katatawan will steal the cadaver. So actually, Isabelo notes that he's not also sure exactly what they are, but he thinks that they are anitos. So they wake their victims with a hardly audible voice, and then they make them ride their airship. And they fly into space at 1 o'clock in the morning, and they go around the whole world in just half an hour. So the Sangkabagi, they approach many people because they want to be friends, but these Anitos forbid their friends to say the rosary, hear mass, or do Christian stuff. So that's why a lot of people don't accept the friendship of the Sangkabagi. The Sangkabagi inflicts evil on those who scorn and reject them, so which includes maybe dragging them on the floor when they are asleep, snatching up their livers and filling up the space with grass so that they get sick. or they make anay, they make termites destroy their clothes, palay corn, and other plants. However, to those who do accept their friendship, they give them books called the Libro de la Compañía. Although, based on the footnotes here, the theory is that this belief of giving books was added by the Spaniards because Jesuits often possessed miraculous books. So Ilocanos before would scatter little rice and salt before sitting down, and then they say, "Let us eat." So in this manner, the Sangkabagi cannot come to get their food. And also, sometimes they would place a crucifix on the four sides of the bed, and also on the door of a hut, to ward off the Sangkabagi. So, salamat sa correction. So, di ako marunong mag-Ilocano kasi. So, marunong ako mag-English tsaka mag-Tagalog. Kaya yon yung mga ibang pronunciation, di ako sigurado. So, pero yung father-in-law ko, marunong mag-Ilocano. Kaya tinanong ko siya, para lang masigurado ko talaga kung ano yung pronunciation. Sinabi niya, ito sana tama na. Tama na yung pagkasabi ko. Teka lang Sangkabagi. Although napansin ko din na, so kung napansin nyo yung mga videos ko, puro English at ginawa ko yon. So intention ko talaga yon para mas accessible yung mga videos kasi hindi ko alam baka may mga, kunyari mga nag-immigrate na sa US or sa kung saan na hindi na din masyadong nagtatagalog pero interesado sila sa ganitong impormasyon kaya ini-English ko lahat. Pero yon napansin ko din kasi 'di ba iba yung pagpikas ng English. So pag may sinasabi akong mga kunyari Ilocano words or Tagalog words na nasa loob ng yung frame of mind ko nasa English, parang nagiging mas malambot, nagiging mas konyo yung dating. Medyo konyo na nga ako. So ayun, so yung mga ibang pagbigkas baka mali. Tsaka yun, yung mga ibang salita, parang ngayon ko lang din nabasa. So ayun, so kung alam niyo yung tamang pagbigkas ng mga ibang salita sa videos ko, pakisabi na lang kung pwede niyong gawan ng video at i-share din sa TikTok, ganun, para ma-educate din ako. Yun, maraming salamat po. In Ilocano folklore, there is a tree spirit called the Mamangkik. So before the Ilocanos would cut down a tree in the mountains, they would sing this verse. Bari-bari, di ka agunget pari, ta pumukan kami, iti babarkirda kami. Hopefully I pronounced that right. So which would, bari-bari would translate to, do not feel bad my friend because we cut as we are ordered. So this is done so that the Mamangkik who live in the trees will not get offended. Because according to popular belief by the Ilocanos, these spirits are vindicative and can inflict grave illness. Isabelo de los Reyes was not really able to get a clear idea of the nature of what exactly is a Mamangkik. Like, it's not a demon or a devil, it's not a shadow, it's not a ghost, nor are they barbarians. So his opinion is that it was probably an Anito. So his guess, I don't know what his source exactly is for this, is that they are human beings that were struck dead by lightning or by a caiman, so a crocodile, or by a big knife, and they got buried at the foot of some tree and in a kind of tomb. And for that, their spirit went on into the trees. So before entering the mountains or before you cut trees or plants, you have to ask the Mamangkik for permission. Are the Pugot and the Kapre the same? So most people know what a Kapre is, which is a tobacco smoking giant. The Pugot, though, is not as well known because it's mostly from Ilocano folklore. But in pop culture, it's known mostly as a headless giant. However, in this book, El Folklore Filipino, there is no mention that the Pugot is actually headless. So the description is that it can take several forms like a cat, a dog, or a black giant with horrifying dimensions, like 18 meters high, but no mention of being headless. Also, it smokes a giant-sized cigar just like the Kapre. This book references a direct connection between the Pugot and the Kapre. Here, so in Ilocano, Pugot, but Kapre according to Spaniards. Could this be an oversimplification by Isabelo de los Reyes, or are the Pugot and the Kapre actually the same creature? Ilocanos believe that dogs can see ghosts. So, when dogs howl, the howling of dogs indicate the presence of a ghost. There's also a way for you to see ghosts too, and that is by applying the secretions from a dog's eyes to your own eyes. So basically, if you collect dog tears and use them as eye drops, then you can see ghosts too. Some people were correcting me that according to their folklore, it's not tears but muta, which makes it much more gross. So I wanted to check because in the text here, in the translation, it says apply the secretion from a dog's eyes. But I wanted to investigate, and so I checked the original Spanish here. It says, I don't know how to speak Spanish, but when I inputted this into Google Translate, this word came out, legañas. So, using Google Translate, when I put in legañas, this comes out rheum. And then looking that up in Wikipedia, here, rheum is a thin mucus naturally discharged from the eyes, nose, or mouth, often during sleep. So, mukhang tama nga, it's not tears that you have to apply to the eyes, but muta. For more videos on pre-colonial and indigenous Philippine culture, folklore, and mythology, subscribe to my YouTube channel and look for me on TikTok.